Welcome to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast, the show where we discuss what it takes to create a sustainable long-term online business in today's fast-moving environment. We talk with industry experts and freelancers alike to find out what it takes to build and manage a location-independent business.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast, the show where we connect with, learn from, and pull inspiration from other entrepreneurs, online business owners, and remote employees from around the world. Today, I have a great guest on. It's Nacho Rodriguez from the Coworking Canary Islands in Las Palmas. I wanted to get Nacho on because he has a co-working space over in a sun-drenched island over in the Canary Islands. This is a place where digital nomads get to meet up, work, network with each other and just hang out and have some fun while also growing their businesses and meeting with like-minded people. So I feel like this is a very important and relevant topic for the podcast. So thank you for joining me, Nacho, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. So I suppose I've been a fan from afar looking at the beautiful pictures that you do post. You know, you definitely have a nice... the model is not just all about work. You incorporate co-living, community and surfing as well, which Gran Canaria is very well known for because it gets a bit windy on one side of the island, doesn't it?
Correct. Well, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria has probably one of the best urban beaches in Europe, which is great also for surfing at any levels. And that makes the city even more vibrant. It's not only about the weather, it's not only about the community, but also all the things that there is to do here, not only surfing, but also great hiking spot, great for biking. So a lot of options, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful place. I was there myself many years ago, but I do look forward to coming back. And, it's great that these sort of these places, these co-working places, like this has really come on leaps and bounds in the last couple of years. So my only experience with a co-working place was I used to live in Chiang Mai over in Thailand, and Pun Space is, the famous place where everybody kind of went 5 years ago. It's probably changed a bit since then, but everybody went to Pun Space and it was great. It's where I met so many people who I'm still in contact with today. And, some of them I've watched from afar just as their business grew and developed. So, these co-working places do provide a great, like I like to say community, because it is a kind of a community feel. Even though you might only spend a few days or a few weeks there, you hang out with these people, you often end up going for meals with them, or you go for drinks, or maybe you do activities, like the surfing or just hiking and general, hanging out and fitness, So why don't we dig into a little bit around, I suppose, your own backstory and, what led to you opening up a co-working space in Gran Canaria on the Canary Islands?
Cool. Well, we started Co-working Canary Islands about 3.5 years ago. We opened this office space first because we needed it for ourselves. We had a spin-off project of another company that needed its own space, and the place that we had available was obviously too large only for us. So we made it available for other freelancers or other companies to join us. And actually, that's when we really got in touch with this whole movement. We didn't really know anything about digital nomads or remote workers when we started our co-working space, funny enough. But once we realized and started learning about it and realized how the movement was evolving and how Las Palmas had become naturally a hub for digital nomads from all over in Europe and also from the US, decided to focus on this target group. Although one of the values that we add is that at our space, we mix local and long-term expats that are based here in Las Palmas with temporary remote workers and digital nomads. So the value that both locals and visitors receive, it's much higher by mixing them in the same space.
Yeah, I imagine that's a great experience too for the people who are visiting, because, quite often people can be segmented, where they go away and maybe they're just hanging around with people who they're meeting and they're not integrating with the locals. And, it's great that you get to, combine all this, combine the experience, combine the beauty of the island and, mix them with all the locals as well. So it just adds to the experience overall, I would imagine.
It adds, and it adds a lot of value, and it's what we think that collaboration and co-working is all about. It's about sharing experiences, sharing knowledge, and particularly for the people who visit us from abroad, to really get a real experience on the island, not to live as a tourist, but live more as locals do.
Yeah, for those, I suppose, for any listeners who don't know, maybe over in America or Canada, Gran Canaria is an island off Africa. It's part of Spain, and it's a little small island amongst the Canary Islands, which is there's a couple of different ones, and this area has sun pretty much all year round, and it's got a really nice climate. Especially a lot of people would leave from the likes of Ireland and the UK. They would migrate down there for the winter, maybe older people. And now with just with the rise of the digital nomad movement, it's really become a popular place for people in Europe and from around the world to, avoid that harsh Canadian winter and come and spend some time in a more moderate climate in Europe and be surrounded by, fellow entrepreneurs and business owners.
Correct. It all comes down to the quality of life, I think. That's what makes this place special. I mean, we have everything that you could find in any big city in Europe, but we add on top of this great quality of living, low cost of living. Las Palmas is not an expensive city at all, especially if you live like locals, if you don't go to the touristic parts of the island. And it's just a great place to be, and the more the community grows, the better it gets.
Something I find really interesting about, your co-working space in particular is that ye also offer co-living, which for many people, if you're going somewhere and you don't know the area and you just don't know it, like anywhere am I moving to the right area? Even when I went to Chiang Mai, for instance, like I had based on my research from the internet and reading blogs, I ended up picking a place on one side of the city, and then I got there and I realized, oh, this is not where I want to be. And then I got talking with some people in Pun Space, and then sure enough, I ended up on the other side of Chiang Mai in a better spot. And this is the sort of the information you get from connecting with people. And your business, you actually have co-living. So if somebody was to come over to Gran Canaria and they want to stay for a little while, you actually have accommodation options as well, don't you?
Exactly. This is something that we learned after we started hosting the first guests. We receive a lot of remote workers, people that are working and traveling at the same time. And they need to stay productive. They cannot spend a lot of time on researching and making the mistakes that you mentioned previously. Not only this, but it's great to arrive at a spot and have everything ready for you. Not only the workspace, the accommodation, but also just meet the right people. That makes your experience completely different and much better. And this is what we offer. We offer not only an accommodation, not only a workspace, but just in general, a great experience.
Yeah, it sounds, you have me sold. I was sold before we ever spoke because I've been following your page for a while. One of my friends, Niall Doherty, who's going to be a guest on an upcoming episode, he's just very busy right now. And, he stayed there. He loved it. He loved the vibe of it, the community of it. He's got his own blog, ndoherty.com, where he speaks. He's a digital nomad. He traveled around the world without flying and done all this. And he highly recommended. He reckoned it was a good place to stop by. And it's a place where people come back to as well. So are you seeing that where people, over the 3 years now, that people will come back, throughout the year or at certain times of the year?
Well, just talking about Niall, in fact, he will visit us this year 3 times. And normally he stays an average of 1 month and a half with us. And that talks for itself about destination. I mean, this is a place that feels like home. Once you get to know it, get to know the right people, and get settled a bit, most of our visitors always come back. And that's a great thing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to have because it's, it's a sense of, family, a sense of community. And, as humans, isn't that what everybody craves, that social interaction. And while a lot of our work is very online and isolated, I work from home and, I don't have that community. I'm just going to be honest. I don't have that same community, that same connection. I work from home, so I have to put myself out there and go to places to to have these events, where you're even just interacting with people and talking. So, it is important, and I feel like it's a good thing for people. And I think that's a nice lead into the next topic. Really, is when you're at a co-working space, like there's that element of you need to get your work done, but there's also the element of networking and meeting with like-minded people. So how would you, in your experience, how do you feel you would navigate that? Because I found, just personally, maybe it's just my own personality, where you would go to these places and sometimes you end up you're talking with people a lot because everybody's got interesting stories. How do you see people mitigating that?
Well, I think that there's always a way around this. And obviously this is something that we really care about. I mean, the workspace is a place where people need to get work done and need to stay productive. So it cannot become the networking space. And this is the reason why we organize a lot of events. We have normally weekly gatherings where people actually get to connect much better. And even at the workspace, there's certain areas where people they're like silent areas and areas to be focused. And there's always the coffee machine, right, where people gather around and have a quick chat and connect briefly. And afterwards, during the events or during the afternoon afterwarks, they actually connect and organize themselves to do activities together and so on. But the workspace it's very important that it stays productive so that people can get their stuff done.
Yeah, I agree. I suppose maybe it was just, if anything, it was my own fault because I was the one doing it. But I hear what you're saying. You just need to go there with a goal and a plan. And like anywhere, whether you're working from home or working from a co-working space, you just got to get your head down and get stuck in, and keep the networking for in the evenings and during the activities.
Not only this, it also, I think that one of the advantages of the workspace, if you get the right vibe going, is that, it has a work atmosphere. So sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes I have a hard time myself working from home because I don't feel that work atmosphere. Once you have people around that you see that they're focused there on their stuff, inherently you get on the same mood and you get stuff done. And that's really important.
You kind of feed off people's energy too. If there's good energy in a room, and even if you're having these good chats, and I don't know how you describe it. You know what it is when you're in it. It's kind of like surfing when you're surfing and you just get in the zone. It's kind of the same with work in a lot of ways, where if you're around good people and there's good energy, ideas just start coming to you and you just start getting things done and, blasting through it, really.
Totally. I agree. And another point, which is very important, is that this is another way of personal and professional growth, sharing experiences and sharing knowledge with a very international and very diverse workforce that are involved in several very diverse projects. Just brings out a lot of energy, good vibes, and a lot of ideas that actually a lot of our community uses for their own sake. So that's another positive aspect of working here.
I imagine, for somebody like yourself who gets to meet so many different people throughout the year, it would be difficult. Do you get entrepreneurial ADD yourself, where you get all these ideas from all these interesting people, or have you got? How do you feel about all the different people that you meet? Do you be amazed sometimes?
Well, to be honest, sometimes I wish I had more time to really deep into all the different opportunities and ideas and projects that come by me or that at some point I get in touch with. I define myself as a serial entrepreneur, but I wish I could even be more of it. But it's great. I mean, I think that everything affects always in a positive way, all these ideas, to be in touch with all these people. And I don't know, I just, at a personal level, this business, even if it wasn't a business, I will keep doing it because it's really fulfilling.
Yeah, so I suppose that's a good place maybe to just backtrack a little bit and talk about how co-working Gran Canaria came to be. How did it come to be? What's your background that led you to this? And are you a local from the island? I probably should have cleared that up at the beginning as well.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Gran Canaria, and then I spent few years in the US. I also traveled through Europe, worked for some time in Germany. And I guess I traveled enough to realize that I really appreciate what I had home, and decided to come back. I'm an engineer, electrical engineer as a training. I've been involved for more than 12 years in the renewable energies industry. And at one of our family businesses, we had an IT-related project that we thought it could be interested to implement for other companies. And that was the start of Coworking C. We decided to take that the people that were involved in that project into a new space. We prepared Coworking C and made it available for other entrepreneurs and freelancers to join the same space, as we had a lot of space available. And that's when everything started 3.5 years ago.
Was when that initial period happened, when you first opened up, how did you get the word out? Was there people already there? Did you know that there was a bit of a community on the island already? Or, I kind of feel like almost you were the instigators of it, where, ye are creating this community and drawing people into it, as opposed to it was there beforehand. So please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, to be honest, as we opened the co-working space in a natural way, we didn't do any research. We didn't study what the market. We were going to do it anyhow because we needed it for ourselves. Obviously, the first few months, nobody showed up. So we were working at the workspace by ourselves. Some locals popped in. But I remember a few months after we opened, we had a Norwegian entrepreneur that knocked at our door and said, "Hey, I heard this is a co-working space. I would like to work here." And told us that he was a digital nomad and he was traveling and working remotely. And we were like, wow, we didn't even know this existed. And we started researching about this. And actually, we found out that there was another project in Las Palmas that was already working on this field, which is now a very popular project. It's called Surf Office. You just changed around our communication, focused on attracting more international entrepreneurs. At that time, also the locals started coming in, and it just kept rolling until what it is today. The co-living came afterwards. We also decided to organize a conference to attract more people and generate the right content to position the islands as a destination. And it's just been a great ride.
That all sounds perfect. It's just it was organic, really. It wasn't, like you're saying, there wasn't some big launch plan. It was, you opened the space originally because you needed it for your own teams. And then out of that, you seen that there was a need for this. And people, you had the perfect setting, you had the perfect location, you had the right co-working space. And out of that, then you just started positioning yourselves and pitching to the right community. And out of that, then, digital nomads are often very active online, most of them anyway. So I imagine, they're online, they're sharing photos, they're telling other people who are digital nomads, and you know what I mean, to go there and to that this is a place to stop by. When it comes to the conference, so, what is the conference that you're talking about and when is it?
Well, the conference, we started 2 years ago, the first edition. It's called the Nomad City. The conference itself has also been evolving. The first edition was more about the lifestyle, was more about digital nomad lifestyle, traveling, and being location independent. We had a couple of really interesting speakers. Niall Doherty was one of them. We combined this conference and the first edition also with a lot of activities, really cool activities around the island, like hiking and like surfing, like doing a gincana around the city. So actually people connected very well even before the conference. So the energy level was really high. Last year, we switched a little bit the content. The structure of the event was the same, but we added to it workshops on learning how to find a remote job, like preparing yourself to work remotely, learning the right tools. We also had companies like Appwork attend, which is a great platform to find jobs for freelancers. Companies like TopTal, which have over 400 employees and they don't even have an office. And this year we're building an event even more focused on remote work. We truly believe that there are several ways of approaching being location independent. And we see that more and more the corporate world is understanding that this is the way the future will be, that this is much more productive, and that workforces don't need to be commuting to work every day. They don't need to have a 9 to 5. They just need to have some goals that they need to take care of. And no matter where or when they do them, the important thing is that they get them done. And that's what we are focusing for this upcoming event, which will happen in October here also in Las Palmas. We will have great speakers of companies that are fully remote. We will have companies talking about the products that allow remote work, but we will also work on the personal level, having recruiting agencies talk about what's needed to find a remote job and what tools and what expertise are companies that are hiring remote workers looking for. So it will be really great.
Yeah, so I suppose just to drop it in there, I am a remote employee for a Canadian company called Shopify Plus, and I work with, we work with the highest volume e-commerce merchants essentially in Europe, and that's what I actually do, remote, and I'm working remote for a company, and I can speak to that experience. I understand what it's like, and I've also ran my own business remote. I still have some stuff going on the side, but I essentially, ran an agency and then kind of stopped and took on this position when Shopify reached out, and I'm happy that I done that because, as they say, if you get offered a seat in a rocket ship, you don't say which seat, you just jump on. And it's been great, and the people I work with are so skilled, but everything, I would say half the company is remote easily. At least half of Shopify is remote. In Ireland there's about 400 or 500. There's no office in Ireland. There's about 500 staff in Ireland alone for Shopify. They are very much advocates of just the remote work, and you're an adult, you can work from home if you want, you can work in a coffee shop if you want. It's completely up to you. I would have a lot of flexibility with my schedule, so long as, just like you're saying, all the things you're talking about here, so long as my work gets done, so long as I have my calls with my merchants, so long as I'm on top of everything that I need to be doing. Something that's maybe a little bit unique about working with Shopify as well is they encourage you to have a side hustle or a side business or whatever, so long as it doesn't interfere. And that's where this podcast is kind of, my side project, if you will. Just to connect and to learn, and even for me to be inspired as well as the listeners from all the people whose stories that I'm sharing. So it's great that you're putting on these conferences. I definitely feel like there's a value for them, and it's great to share. It's great to share it too. I'm definitely a fan of realism when it comes to working online and remote work. Not everybody runs a big business. So the first 2 episodes, those are 2 very, we had Carlo on first, who, he has multiple 5-figure businesses. And then we have Jonathan, who has offices in 3 different countries, and he's doing, big numbers. But, not everybody is running these big, huge remote businesses, entrepreneurs. Some people are, happy and grateful to work for a good company, a good tech company, and provide value for them, and it allows them then to have the lifestyle where they could go to the Canary Islands and work, and their company is cool with it because they're doing their work.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's exactly the case, and basically what we're trying to do with this conference is spread the word, because obviously we see this movement obviously led by American and Canadian companies. In Europe, still most of the companies are still traditional, and there are a lot of employees, very talented people that are stuck in jobs that they're just not happy. And basically, I think the key of remote work and location independence, it's directly related to happiness. It's being motivated. Even if the job is not the best job, then maybe what fills you up is it's having the possibility to have these side projects. So why not? Why not do them? And sometimes if you are stuck into a standard presential structure, which is what it's the common thing today in Europe, then you're just not happy because you cannot have those fulfilling things on the side. So that's basically what we're trying to promote and try to spread the word. And we try to teach companies what's the good side of this. But we also try to teach people and professionals, because as you know, it takes some skills to work from home or to work remotely. You have to be very self-controlled and manage your time correctly, and it's important to stay productive when you don't have anybody around looking at you to make sure that you're working. So this also requires skills, requires the right tools, requires the right communication, and that's what we're trying to bring to this event.
It's amazing what you can do with Slack, Google Drive, Asana, and Trello. It really is.
Correct.
Kind of like the core of the majority of people's businesses who I talk with. They use Google Drive, the Google Suite. They use Asana or Trello, and they use Slack.
That's it.
That's what runs huge companies and businesses.
Totally.
So just while we're on the topic with your own business, what tools would you use on like regularly? Would you have tools that you would use to help run the business?
Well, you just mentioned some of them. We use Trello very often. We use obviously Slack every day. We use both Dropbox and Google Drive. Also our Gmail. And then, for example, our workspace. We don't have somebody at the workspace taking care of it. It's sort of like, let's call it automated. People have an app to access. They can access 24/7. So we communicate with the new visitors by email, or they contact us through the social media, and we tell them what they have to do. Sometimes we try to have somebody host them if it's one of the members of the team, but if not, it's just going to be a permanent coworker that is going to take care of them. And it's just the best way. I mean, people are responsible. They are. They know how to behave in space, and things run smoothly. And the same theory we apply at the co-living. And in the co-living, we try to avoid to make a lot of rules. We try to leave the groups organize themselves and have the right vibes inside the house. And so far, it worked great. I guess also because people who decide to join a co-living space are already sort of like filter out, and they are sort of like-minded, and they just understand each other well and co-live perfectly. So far this worked great for us.
Yeah, you're essentially just you're treating them like adults, like responsible adults, which is what companies don't seem to want to do in a lot of cases, and they tell you what to wear and look over your shoulder at everything that you're doing. And that old school mentality of managing teams is really, this generation, it's really phasing out. Even in the last, I started working online maybe 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was people just thought that you were mental. They're like, how can you work? You can't work from home by yourself. You can't work in a coffee shop, and now it's like the norm. It's becoming so much more normal for people to, slowly but surely it's happening. But, in Ireland anyway, there's definitely more and more companies letting people work, work remotely really, or from home a little bit more. So it's slowly becoming more normal. It's normalized.
Totally. I think that the old school way is just a huge waste of energy. I mean, making sure that you have everything under control at any point is just not productive. The mentality that we have is just, you just have to have the right tools and right skills. And if you have any issues, come back to me and we'll try to fix them out and let you go and so that you can stay productive. And that's just the right way to do things, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love the app idea too. It sounds brilliant. Fair play. Well done. So now I suppose let's dig into some, the topic of actually, if I was a person now and I was listening to this and I decided that I wanted to come to Gran Canaria, what would be your tips for somebody who was coming over?
Well, first thing is that if you really want to have a good experience, try to come with some time. We always recommend people to travel slowly. If you're here for a week, you don't have time to connect with people. And immediately when you talk to someone and you tell them, hey, yeah, I just arrived today, I'm leaving next Monday, then they're probably not going to make the effort of getting to know you or connecting because you're just going to be out soon. So most of our visitors stick around for a month or two, and many of them actually extend their stays, because once they connect and they really feel connected and meet people and they get into the very productive mode, then they're like, well, why should I go somewhere else? So yeah, plan a visit with at least a month. I think that would be great. Also, there's so many things to see and to experience in the island. But if you're working during the week, then you only have the weekend. So you need at least a bunch of weekends to really discover and experience the island to the fullest. And that's pretty much it.
And just I suppose just to add, because I have a child, so it's a little bit different. I feel like the core demographic of digital nomads tends to be, maybe the 20 to 30 or 20 to 35. It's largely male dominated, but there is a lot of female entrepreneurs as well. But just from the groups that I see, I would say that there's a higher ratio of men in their 20s going off to do it. So if somebody had a family and they were coming over to Gran Canaria to go co-working, do you feel like things would be a bit different for them?
To be honest, I see more and more families traveling, and I would give you some tips. There's the guy that you should bring at some point to the podcast. He runs operations at a Hotjar, and he's been traveling with 2 kids for about 3 years now, all around the world. And he really taught me how to do it. I am still working with my wife to see if I convince her to do it too, as I also have a 4-year-old son. So it's really possible. And Gran Canaria, it has a lot of international schools at any level, so that your kids could go to school here. A lot of the families, obviously, that travel more intensively, they do homeschooling, which is becoming more and more popular. So today, that if you have the right mindset and it's completely possible to travel with a family or with kids too.
I seen in London, I know it's a little bit off topic, but it just came to mind there. In London, they have co-working spaces now with creches as well. So they're like, you can drop your kid off for like 4 hours downstairs and go upstairs into the co-working space and work.
Totally.
I was like, this is actually a really clever idea.
Well, if we had a larger workspace, we would have somebody to take care of the kids. That's for sure. We do have an area for kids. We have a small desk with stuff for kids to have, as I have a kid myself, and he comes often to the workspace. So unfortunately, we don't have a person that would take care for him while the parents are working. But if he had a larger office, that would be definitely there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but I get most people wouldn't want children around when they're working because children are distracting. So and loud as well at times. So
well, it's just a matter of having the right space for them. So yeah. I think that they bring life. When my son comes around, everybody just puts a smile on their face. Obviously, if he starts screaming or running around, maybe after 10 minutes it won't be as fun. But I think that it's something that it's good to have if it's structured the right way.
Yeah, my daughter often walks in on me, not having calls with merchants, but with internal calls with the company. We have video on, and I don't mind if she walks into the room and like just pick her up and she waves at everybody in the team, and it's it's cool. Everyone laughs and smiles, and oh, she's cute. Then you're like, off she goes, But yeah, so look. It's good to know, because it's not all, not all the listeners are going to be, single young people. There's also, digital nomads and the people who live that lifestyle. It's very varied, the type of people who live it, and I definitely believe that it's important to spread the message of the different types of, the different types of people who are doing this, because, I work in Ireland. I'm remote in Ireland. The person who I spoke with yesterday, he is he's in Brighton for most of the year in the United Kingdom. He's not off in, tropical islands all the time. I know you live on a tropical island, but, I'm talking about the Instagram version of the digital nomad that's always Bali and Thailand and stuff. That, a lot of people do this.
The laptop by the pool style.
The laptop by the pool. You can't deal with the glare. It's pointless. but like, it's important for people to realize that, that this whole, like, it's about the freedom of it, I feel like, more than it's about, like being in a particular, a specific place. It's that you have the freedom to go on and to work and to do your work in places where you feel comfortable and it gives you that freedom to set your schedule and, work around it. So I think that's what's important.
And going back to the kids, one of the things that I learned from Ken from Hotjar is that, I mean, he does homeschooling. His wife is a teacher, and he was telling me the experience that the kids have while they travel, and it's like amazing because they are, I mean, what they're teaching them about the different history, about the different cities, about different religions or cultures, and the kids are immersed in all these cultures. So they structure the education while they are experiencing it, and I think that, I mean, it's an incredible experience also for parents and for family.
Yeah, my daughter is 4.5 now as well, so she loves it. She loves going away. She can't wait to go to Spain. She's asking me every day, Daddy, when are we going to Spain? When are we going to Spain? She loves it. She just loves the pool. We don't get that over here, so she gets it for 2 or 3 weeks of the year if she's lucky. So, right. So, I suppose just kind of to round up. So, I mean, like, I feel like we've hit on a lot of nice topics here. We covered how the business all came about. We've covered the benefits of going and working from a co-working space, and also the benefits of co-living, that you get to connect with other entrepreneurs and other remote employees who are just, they're on similar mindset. They've got similar goals, and, they all enjoy this sort of lifestyle, if you will. So, just rounding up the episode now, is there anything you'd like to say before we finish up?
I guess as a tip to people that are thinking about joining this lifestyle or this group, if you're in a traditional job, first ask your boss, hey, what do you think about me working remotely? This is something that if we all do it, it's going to spread the word faster. And I think people will get surprised because more and more companies are going to turn remote sooner than later. Because when we think about, for example, the race for talent, a lot of companies are really having difficulties to hire talented people, especially with younger generations, and they're realizing that flexibility it's a must today. This is the first option. I don't agree sometimes with people that say, hey, just, quit your job and start traveling and start working remotely. Try it the other way. Try to first move your traditional job into a remote job. And if you can't, or try to find a company that would allow you to have this lifestyle. And if not, maybe try the possibility of building your own business remotely. But don't go for the first option at first without trying the other ones.
I completely agree with what you're saying there, and not to, like, it's foolish really to just jump in and leave everything to go off. Most people who do that aren't telling you the full story. In my experience, a lot of them have money or funding or parents who are providing for them, or there's often a lot more to the story than what people are telling you.
Particularly, they're not telling you the struggles that you could be involved if you do that. So it's very important to be realistic and to be fair with.
Yeah, and in episode 1 and 2, I mean, we covered both Carlo and Jonathan. It was all about, you have to provide a service that's needed, listen to the market, and see where you can fit in and add value. And it's just important. That's what any business is, whether you're being a freelancer or whether you're trying to build a big company. That's what you have to do. You have to solve problems and provide a good service. And if you want to go and become a digital nomad, it's no different.
I agree.
But also, being a remote employee is sweet. If you work for a good company, it's a good gig. Can you tell people where they can find you and give them the dates of the upcoming Nomad City that you have going on in October?
Great. Yeah, the best way to find us is coworkingc.com. Also, nomadcity.org is the website for the event. And we'll be announcing the dates very soon, but it's going to be the first quarter of October 2018. So hopefully we'll see you here.
Yeah, I genuinely am going to try my very best to be there. I can't think of any reason why I'm not going to be there. Thank you very much for taking the time to have a call with us, Nacho.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast episode with Nacho Rodriguez from Coworking Gran Canaria. Or if you'd like to visit Coworking in Gran Canaria, just go to coworkingc.com. For all of the resources and links that were mentioned in this episode, including the upcoming retreat in October, head over to Digital Nomad Cafe /episode 3, where all of the links and resources will be found. thank you very much. And I hope this was an inspiring episode. And anybody who's looking for somewhere in Europe to go that's cool to hang out and spend some time and work on your business, Gran Canaria is a perfect option. All the best. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. Head over to the website to access the resources and links mentioned in today's episode at digitalnomadcafe.com.